Welcome back to another episode of Catch Some Soulshine. Today, I had the pleasure of interviewing or actually talking with Andrea. Has a really huge heart and interest in diversity training and learning about differences of different cultures. She grew up with feelings of lack and not being included, and it spurred her forward to want to make a difference in this world and help other people feel included. I think she has some really valid and important points. She does do her own training for this, and I'm excited for you to get to know her a little bit better. But before we go on, I really want you to like and subscribe to this podcast. If you're on Apple or Spotify, please leave me a rating and a comment. On YouTube, you can comment as well. It really does help me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because then you'll get notified every week. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm here today with Andrea Horton-Mericli, and I met her through a mutual group that we're involved in. We had talked earlier. She has a heart for helping people, and I just felt like it would be a really good conversation for you all to hear. I would like you, Andrea, to explain to people, what your mission is, how you got started in this field, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you so much for that introduction. So as Don said, my name is Andrea Horton-Mericli. I recently founded my DEI consulting and coaching business in the fall of 2023. It's called Diversifuse. It's something I've been wanting to do for quite a while because all my previous jobs have been in the nonprofit realm, where I've got the privilege to advocate for many different types of individuals, whether it was me being a special education teacher, advocating for my students and their rights and their abilities. Overseas, teaching English, advocating for my students, and especially those that were on scholarship, making sure that they had what they needed. And then in the workforce development and case management realms, advocating for my clients when it came to accessing services, being treated fairly and as humans, make sure that everything was being human-centered when they were working with other organizations, training the other organizations on how to be culturally sensitive, if it was working with immigrants or refugees, whether they spoke English or not. If they didn't speak English, making sure that they being offered interpretation services and translation services if there was documents involved. Other clients working towards education and career goals, advocating for them, making sure that they had what they needed. All those wonderful jobs that I was privileged enough to have kept building my passion for diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and accessibility. There is a lot of work that still needs to be done. DEI is basically treating humans as humans. Everybody wants to be valued and heard and feel like they belong and can be themselves, whether it's in a classroom, in an educational institution.
What piqued your interest in this? Because sometimes we all go through these dark moments in our lifetime that propel us forward to want to make a change. Obviously, mine is grief, loss, dealing with addiction, mental health issues, and it propels me forward to make a positive change. On a personal level, where does that come from for you?
My drive for my purpose comes from basically my background. I was a military brat. Father was in the military and we moved around a lot. And my mother was a Mexican American. She came to the United States when she was younger. I call myself a mixed race Latina. And then we were also low income. My parents got divorced, so I was a single household. My mother raised us. Household was making less than $11,000 for the year. Didn't speak Spanish. When we moved to El Paso, Texas, my Latino friends would sometimes exclude me from the conversation. Even though we were talking in English before, it makes them wonder, what are you talking about? Sorry, you're talking about me. So going from high school, a low-income high school, to university in Texas, my dorm roommate also is public high school in Texas, but she was from Clear Lake, which is where NASA is. And my dorm roommate saying, "Didn't you learn this all in high school?" And I'm like, no. And I was like
Mhm.
top of my class in high school, starting in engineering and then being a female in the electrical engineering department and feeling a little excluded by my male classmates and eventually changing majors. And when I worked with immigrants and refugees later in my career, after graduating, the struggles that they were having. I mean, my struggles were nothing compared to a lot of the stories and challenges that my refugee clients were having. There is such a need. I mean, our whole country is made of immigrants. We're all from somewhere else except for our Native American friends. As humans, we tend to fear what we don't understand,
Mm.
whether it's people or ideas. And
Right.
so we automatically don't include them in things. And all these things are what fuels my passion in promoting inclusive spaces for them.
When you went through that experience yourself,
And it really made me feel stupid. Like I wasn't good enough. Even though they know they're not stupid,
right?
they may be a teacher in their country or a lawyer in their country or something like that, but the rules are different. So a lot of them are treated that they don't know what they're doing. Their
Mhm.
experience can't translate over. A lot of Americans think that the United States has the best education and that's it. There's some wonderful schools all over the world.
From a scientific background, I like experiments and things. And if you treat someone as if they're less intelligent and you
Mm-hmm.
constantly
Yeah.
act as if they are and
Yeah.
don't acknowledge them, they become that as a
Exactly.
consequence of how
Mm-hmm.
that energy that you're putting out towards them. So that's one of the things that I think is really important. The first thing we
That's
can
true.
do is change the way we speak because words
Yeah,
have power. They're very
they
powerful.
do.
So how
They
I
do.
speak of myself, how I speak of
Mm-hmm.
other people carries a lot of power. And that's the very first
Mm-hmm.
thing people can do to
That's true.
help feel included and help
Mm-hmm.
show that we care about one another as
Mm-hmm.
humans and form that connection, even if you're
Yeah,
not speaking the same language, body
I
language.
agree.
Aside
Mm-hmm.
from the language, what are some of the other things that you can do to help people feel more included?
So when it comes to the language and how you were saying that people start believing that, when I taught special education, I taught in middle school, which is a
Mhm.
very impressionable age. And I taught in low income schools because I wanted to teach in schools similar to where I was taught. I would hear some of the other teachers, and even though I taught special ed, I would hear them talk about the regular ed students as well. Like, oh, they're not going to make anything. They're not going to do anything with their lives. And I'm like, what?
I know
But
when I
mhm.
was in elementary school, I had some of the best teachers, and I also had some teachers that were very detrimental to me.
Yeah.
And I remember my first grade teacher, I loved her. My second grade teacher, this was in second grade, so the restrooms are in the classroom. So my
Oh,
cousin
oh,
was in the girls' restroom with her desk, and I was in the boys' restroom for a week until my mother found out about it and rectified the situation. In third grade, I had a wonderful teacher again. I loved her. She read the book Charlotte's Web to us, and that book came alive. She encouraged us to do acting. I was in a play at that time. She just really made me blossom after that second grade year. Then I get to the fourth grade. I fell out of a tree and broke my arm. I had a
oh,
cast on my right arm. The teacher gave me an F in handwriting. She
what?
also insisted, yeah. So I have some
Gosh.
really high highs and some really, really lows, but she insisted that the student come in with teacher conferences. She said to my mother, with me sitting there, you might as well face it. She's average and she's never going to be anything more than an average student. Teachers are just so vitally important when it
Mhm.
comes to shaping children
Yes.
because
Yeah.
of those life experiences that I had as a young child.
Oh,
I had a lot of deep-seated beliefs about school systems that I had to
I
really work through because there's
can
so
imagine.
many wonderful, beautiful, great teachers, but that's kind of that shapes you. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
does. Yeah. Mhm. There is a high turnover of teachers. It's all about the test and the
Yeah.
state tests and everything, and because that's how schools get their money. The districts get their money
Right.
is the percentage of students that pass, and the high expectations. I mean, there's so much demand on teachers about data and tracking
Yes.
and all. It's taking the fun out of teaching and out of learning. When I
Mhm.
taught at an elementary school, I started teaching elementary before middle school. The science lab was never used. They used it as a storage room. Application is so
Yes.
important when it comes to
Yes.
learning anything. Like,
There's so much research out right now, and it's gaining momentum about how creativity is
mhm,
vitally important for brain formation and brain neuroplasticity and the pathways that are created. And they're doing studies on scientists and mathematicians that employ creativity into their
mhm,
daily routine, and they're better producers. But yet, why are we taking out arts and music
music.
and culture and home ec and all of
Yes,
those hands-on creative
it's
things
taken.
in our school systems
Mhm.
because they are vitally important for brain function.
It teaches discipline,
Yeah,
math, patience. It
yeah.
teaches so much more than that, and it's an outlet for the emotions. The reason why a lot of school districts are taking them out is because they don't bring in the money. They need more time for the students to improve their science, math, reading, and writing for those tests. I remember as a kid taking the CAT as in elementary school, some of these other little tests.
I think
Yeah.
this talking about it with you, making people more aware of it and the benefits of
Mhm.
the creativity, because with the test taking, we're so focused on the test taking. Well, it's research proven that
Mhm.
creativity increases test scores. The more we push that and the more we talk about it and get other parents and administrators and teachers on board, maybe we can change this tide a little bit. Same with the inclusion,
So,
with the diversity, and how important it is for us to be different and to honor those
mhm.
differences and learn about people's cultures and differences.
Yes.
I'm lucky because
So
in the healthcare field, they are requiring diversity teaching now, and so
it's great.
I've had a lot of diversity teaching, and we've had people come to my workplace and talk about it, and it's been very beneficial, but that's not everywhere,
No,
you
it's
know?
not. Some states have dismantled their whole DEI divisions. Some universities have dismantled their whole DEI department. I'm fortunate to live in a state that still believes in the DEI. That's one thing I love about the city. I live in Pittsburgh. They have a
Yeah,
beautiful cultural arts district. Boston
yeah.
has a huge DEI initiative as well. People don't realize how important that is, not just to the youth, but to the community at large.
With your
I
business, do
mhm.
you work with, like, workplaces? How would somebody get a hold of you to
Sure.
get some training?
I work with workplaces, I work with educational institutions, and I work one on one with individuals as well, boards and leaders, HR departments, and employees at large to help assess the situation, the environment, or one on one. People can come to me to talk things out, talk things through, talk about strategies and with situations that they may be dealing with personally.
Mhm.
I do one on one coaching. With individuals for that, but I also do one-on-one coaching with career counseling as well with a DEI lens. Individuals can get a hold of me on my website at diversifuse.com, or they can send an email to me directly at Andrea at diversifuse.com. I'm on my website all the time. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram.
Thanks again for joining me on this episode of Catch Some Soul Shine. I can't stress to you the importance of learning about cultural differences in our country. We were called the melting pot for a reason because all the different cultures that come to our country add something very special and colorful to the fabric of our lives. I want you to begin your journey of self exploration. And to do so, you can download my free Soulshine Affirmation Journal. It features some of my artwork, and there's a page where you can write some heartfelt messages to yourself following positive affirmations that I've provided for you. It's really a huge way to start yourself on a journey of self love. Again, thank you for joining me. Check out the other links that I have in the comments. If you'd like to join the Ripple Club and ripple kindness out into the world, I'd love to have you. I'll see you next week.